babies! It's Chloe from ReiQueer.com and welcome back to the ReiQueer pod. This is episode 7 and I'm going to give you all another story time, this time about my first ever prophetic dream, well, my first and only prophetic dream so far, what happened and how I made sense of it in the years to come. Before we dive in, I want to say welcome back to anyone who has been keeping up with us as we have launched for an official month now. I really appreciate those who have been taking their time to listen to us, watch our videos. It means a lot. I do this podcast not for the views, but because, I don't know, this just calls to me. I feel like this is my space and I'm really excited to share more and more with you all. And again, really connect you to the person behind the brand. For those who are new here, my name is Chloe, as I mentioned before. I do my work as the ReiQueer, and the whole point of this podcast is to really humanize people in the wellness industry and provide a less sanitized, more raw, more messy, more fun version of what it looks like to be someone who works in the healing arts. So I am a Reiki practitioner, or I guess I have to start getting used to saying I'm a Reiki master now. It feels so wild that that's true. So I'm a Reiki master, equity consultant, human community educator, and I'm here. It's 2025 and I'm here. All right, let's dive into the episode. Let's first start off by describing what a prophetic dream even is, in my opinion at least. So I believe that there are many different types of dreams. I think there's a type of dream that most of us are used to, which is essentially just an amalgamation of things that we've seen, things that we have taken into our subconscious, things that we have listened to, people we've passed on the street, people we know, memories, all of that sort of jumbled up into this weird soup. I think that's totally one type of dream, but I don't believe that that's the only type of dream out there. I think that there are dreams that are messages. I think that dreams can sometimes be a passageway for spirit or ancestors to speak to us. And I also think there are some dreams that are prophetic dreams. A prophetic dream, I think in essence, is a dream where we are receiving a message. Now, it depends on who we are, what we believe in, and if we're even open to it, which will determine if we can actually even recognize it as a prophetic dream. But I know that this was no degular dream, so let's get into it because there's a lot to talk about. So picture it. This is 2022 or 2023. It was somewhere around there, and I was doom scrolling as I was doing plenty of at that time, and I was on Twitter and I saw this tweet and it was like, it blew my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a cool idea. Essentially, the tweet said, when you go to sleep tonight, ask the Archangel Michael to take you to classes in your sleep, in your dreams, so you can learn things. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is such a cool thing to do. I'm actually quite familiar with Saint Michael. I've worked with him before. I feel like he has such a grounding presence, but he also has this sort of like no nonsense energy. So if I could describe it, it's kind of like a big protective brother or guardian, but not one of your little friends. Like he's not going to be super sweet or kind to you, but he's going to have your back. He's going to walk with you. He's going to protect you. So I would call upon Archangel Michael all the time. Like if I was walking down a scary street, or I'd ask him to stand by my bed. And yeah, just really great vibes. But it wasn't like warm and fuzzy vibes. Anyways, all that to say is that this didn't seem super woo-woo or far-fetched to me because I was familiar with his energy and I feel like I had a little bit of a trust built up. I'm also super prayed up. I'm really locked in with my spiritual team. So basically, I wasn't worried about calling in an entity that would hurt me or do something weird. I just wasn't really worried about that. I wanted to go to them classes, honey. Now, at the end of the story, I'm going to tell you what I would do differently next time because I feel like I was a little bit too trusting of this process and nothing terrible happened, but I think I never did that shit again. I'll tell you that. Anyways, okay, let's get into it. I feel like I'm rambling so much. So as the tweet said, that night before I went to bed, I said my prayers, I said my protection prayers, and right before I drifted off, I asked Archangel Michael, can you please take me to some classes tonight? You can decide. I want to go anywhere that I need to be. I want to learn anything that I need to learn. Let go. So this is how the dream went. In that dream, I was sitting down at a little cafe area and we were outside. It was a gorgeous day. I was with a couple other people, but you know how in dreams, it's never actually one person? So I distinctly remember being with people that I'm super, super close with in real life. I feel like the faces were kind of changing around, but there were people that I knew, that I trusted, that I was just, we were vibing, we were kikiing, we're outside, we're having a cute little lunch. For some reason, right when I enter in this dream, stream. I'm smack in the middle of this lunch and I feel the need to get up. And I don't know why, but there is this unsettling feeling in the air. No one else seems to feel it but me. So anyways, I get up and I go across the street. And as I'm going across the street, I realize that we're not where I think we are. I thought we were just outside on some random street at some random cafe. But as I walked across the street, I saw that we were in this like isolated, sort of desolate area. Like imagine, I guess, the closest thing I can think of is sort of like Area 51 kind of vibes. Like there wasn't really anything around, but there was a lot of barbed wire and security fences and cameras. And I was kind of like, where the fuck am I? So I'm walking and I get to this metal fence. Now at this point, I'm just staring straight ahead. I'm not looking up. I'm not really looking around. And as I get to this fence, I start to kind of zoom out a little bit and I look up and I see 2 rockets right in front of me. I think they were so massive that I thought I was just looking at a wall, but I remember sort of tilting back and taking a few steps back and taking in what I was actually looking at. And I saw 2 rockets. I saw one rocket that just looked normal, like an, I don't know, normal everyday rocket that NASA uses or whatever. And then directly beside it was a smaller rocket. And this rocket was sleek. It didn't have any wings. It looked like this. Like it was almost in a phallic shape and it was thinner and smaller and it was right beside the other rocket. Both are huge, obviously, but the second rocket was significantly smaller. When I saw this rocket, I flipped out. I don't know why, but for some reason, the only thought that was in my head was, oh my God, it's real. Oh my God, it's actually real. I have to tell everyone. Everyone has to know. It was like there was something magnificently wrong with the fact that this rocket actually existed, and I needed to warn as many people as possible. I was freaking out. I remember just being floored that the rocket actually existed. So it seemed as though I had some sort of pre-existing memory. I don't know. Anyways, as I'm reeling over the sight of this rocket, as my heart is racing, my mind is racing, I'm thinking, oh my God, I need to tell everyone who's going to believe me. How do I warn as many people as possible? All of a sudden I hear, Hey, what are you doing here? How did you get here? And I look up and there's a security guard and he looks so pissed and so confused. And he's like, how did you get here? And I spin my little ass around and I run. I make it back to that little cafe seating area. Again, y'all, I don't know how this exists. And I remember just being incoherent and just trying to rush and get the words out as quickly as possible, tripping over myself, trying to be like, oh my God, the rocket is real. The rocket is real. I have to tell everyone this. We are in danger. We are in massive danger. My friends are not taking me seriously. They're kind of like, yeah, okay, girl. And I'm trying to explain the depth and the gravity of the situation and no one's really getting it. And I am losing it, y'all. I'm losing it. So anyways, we have a change of scenery. I don't know how, but all of a sudden we are no longer at the cafe and we are in a massive home. I don't even think this could technically qualify as a home. We were in someone's estate. It was massive. And we were walking through these giant ornate hallways in this home. And the person directly in front of me was my very, very good friend. But the faces kept changing. But I wasn't really concerned about that. I just felt a sense of trust with the person I was with. And I remember feeling like this is my best friend. So I don't know who it was, but the faces were kind of changing around and it was people that I knew in real life. Now, remember, the rocket thing had just happened. So I'm still crashing out about that in my mind, but no one's taking me seriously. And for some reason, I get the sense that we have to be quiet as we're moving through this palatial home. I mean, it's freaking massive. So we're walking, and as we're walking by this one part of the home where the entire wall is made out of window. So it's like floor to ceiling windows. I can't even see the ceiling. It's that high. So it's almost as if we're outside, but we're not. And as I look out of these windows, I'm seeing a massive field. So again, we are on some estate. I can barely even conceptualize and explain to you. I've never in my life been to a place like this. And so as I look out, I'm seeing like rolling hills, and this is all in the same estate. It's not like we're looking out into like a random public field. I get the sense that this is all connected to the home or the palace or wherever the we are. As my eyes adjust and I'm actually taking in what I'm looking at, I realize that I am looking at rows and rows and rows of children. Now, I'm going to give a trigger warning here. Oh my God. Okay. These children were in various positions, 3 specific positions. They were kneeling as if they were in prayer. They were kneeling on their knees with their heads bowed down. And then they were kneeling like in a child's pose. Like, you know, child's pose in yoga where you're kneeling and your arms are outstretched and your head is to the floor. They're all in these various 3 positions, and there's hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of them. They are all dead, and they are all burnt as if they were in a fire blast or something, and they were just petrified in that state. So in these various positions that look like prayer, all of these kids are lined up, and I am horrified. Once it actually lands for me, what I'm looking at, my heart is, I don't even think I have one anymore. My heart was left back at the gates where I saw those rockets. I was walking around like, hold the on. What is going on here? It gave ritual. It gave like mass killing. It gave sacrifice. I'm literally speechless. Anyways, so I'm trying to talk to the person in front of me like, do you see this? What is this? What's going on? What's going on? I'm freaking out. I feel like we're walking for so long that I'm starting to get the sense that we cannot speak about this. Like, we have to be quiet and keep going. And now I start to get a little bit scared because where am I? What is happening? What's going on? Boom. All of a sudden, we are in a completely different scenery, completely different setting. And I am now in this massive, ornate room with all of this beautiful upholstered furniture. I'm talking these luxe, gorgeous couches and ottomans. And I'm seeing that there are other people there. I distinctly remember sitting in the couch and it was so comfortable and just sinking in. And I'm thinking, wow, this is such a beautiful seating area. I literally remember too, like going on my phone and scrolling, and I get the sense that I'm waiting for something. You know, when you're like waiting for your mom to pick you up at the library or something? It was like that. So I'm sitting there looking at all this incredibly expensive, nice furniture, you know, scrolling on my phone, waiting, I don't know for what. And then all of a sudden I look up as if someone arrived, and boom, I wake up and I'm back in my bed. So let's break down that dream. Now that I've had some time to think about it, I've really been able to make sense of what I can make sense of, but I'm not gonna lie, there is so much of this dream that to this day, I truly do not understand, and it's a little above me, quite frankly.
It's above me now.
First things first, when I woke up, the first thing that immediately landed for me was that I was in some sort of waiting room. So remember I told you I was in that room with all that really gorgeous furniture? I was waiting to be brought back and wake up. So that was the first thing that was immediately clear to me. And that was the first indicator that this was no regular dream. The second thing that landed for me, and it took a few hours, a couple of days, and I spoke about this dream with everyone I knew. So much so that even years later, all the details are crystal clear. And you know, when you have a dream, it starts to fade almost instantly. This dream locked in. I will never forget this as long as I live. But the second thing that landed super clearly for me, and I didn't take it in the dream, and I have some theories as to why, but when we were in that giant home and we're walking down the hallway and I'm walking with my friend, there was someone leading us down that hallway. There was someone guiding us. We were following someone, but the person that I was seeing was the people that I were the most comfortable with. And I feel like it was like that so that I wouldn't get scared, because I don't think angels look the way we think they look. So I think that dreams like this, they'll use things that we feel comfortable with so that you don't let fear overtake the message and you can actually focus on what's happening because you're not freaked out at what you're seeing. Well, to an extent. So that's when I started putting 2 and 2 together. And I said, oh my God, I literally asked for that. I asked for Saint Michael to guide me, to show me some to teach me some things, and that he did, because I know for a fact that that is who I was following down the hall. Now, I'm using he, him pronouns just because we're humans in the human world, and that's how we've conceptualized the Archangel Michael, but the words don't mean anything. I don't think it was an actual human man walking me down the street, obviously, or walking me down the hallway, but just to put that in there. So that was number 2. Now, the third thing, and this honestly sends chills down my spine. As I was explaining this dream to someone, they're like, I know the rocket you're talking about. And I'm like, what? And they pull up an article and they show me, y'all, this was the very same week that Jeff Bezos displayed or unveiled his little rocket that he took on his 5-second trip to wherever the in space. And I'd never seen it before this dream. When they showed me that rocket, I almost fell out. That was the rocket from my dream. That sleek, almost phallic shape with no wings, that smooth sort of cylindrical. I was shook. That was the rocket. Now, again, I don't know. I don't know, y'all. I do not know what this means. I do not know what this means. I do not know what this means. All I know is that I saw the rocket in my dream before I saw it IRL. And when I saw it in my dream, I freaked the out. It was a big, scary, big deal that this rocket actually existed. And I got the sense that the general consensus was that it didn't exist and nothing was happening and that we should all relax. But when I saw it with my own eyes, the immediate feeling was I need to warn as many people as possible because we are all in grave danger. In terms of the children, I got nothing. I have no idea why I had to see that. And that genuinely traumatized me. Genuinely, it traumatized me. But I kept thinking that for them to be frozen in those states, and I knew that they were burnt just by looking at them, it made me think if someone was too close to a blast, that is what it would look like. It made me think of those terrible images from Hiroshima and Nagasaki where their shadows were burnt into the cement. It reminded me of that. They weren't burnt to the point of ash, but they were almost like petrified giants, like sculptures almost, but they were real. It was, oh my God. I feel like I have 1,000-yard stare right now. It was so scary. Have y'all ever had a dream like that? I'm genuinely curious, and I know that I can't be the only one that have had those sort of dreams where you wake up and you're like, that wasn't a dream. I was either time traveling, accessing some sort of past life memory, receiving some sort of message, but that was no regular dream. Let me know in the comments below. I'm dying to find out. So now that I've told y'all what actually happened in the dream and some of my theories around it, I want to explain what I would do differently next time and my advice to you if you were ever interested or curious about doing an exercise like that in your sleep. As I mentioned before, when I went into doing this exercise, I was so not scared. At all. I thought, I'm good, I'm protected. I said my little prayers. I said, yo, Mike, let's go. I'm not gonna say that was a mistake, but I don't think I should have been that trusting to the experience. And I'll tell you why. When I asked St. Michael to take me to those classes and to show me those lessons, I didn't put a single boundary up. I didn't ask for anything in particular. And when you leave things open-ended like that, literally anything could happen. Right? So if I were to do this again, I would be a lot more specific as to the things that I'm open to seeing and experiencing and the things that I'm absolutely not interested in seeing and experiencing. So that was number 1. I would be a lot more specific. We have to remember when we are dealing with matters of spirituality, there is so much that we do not understand. We are only humans in the human world. Of course, we are still embodied spirits, but we are here right now. We are grounded on earth. And so there's going to be things that are just completely beyond us. And so when we are interacting with spirit, we need to set very clear parameters on who it is we are wanting to reach out to, what it is we are interested in doing, and any boundaries that we are not interested in breaching. And that's because when you call into a cave, baby, anything can call back. And we just have to be careful. So that's number 1. and I was not careful enough. Thankfully, I had enough of a grasp on things to have a clear idea of who it was I was connected with. As I mentioned before, I'm familiar with Saint Michael. I'm familiar with his energy. I've worked with him before. So I feel like I was so hyper-focused on the fact that I knew that I wouldn't be accessing a creepy, scary spirit or a trickster spirit. But I think I should have been more careful about that, just that boundary piece and what it was I was willing to do and what it was I wasn't willing to do. Because that was really intense, you guys. That was really intense. And I don't think I want to see anything like that ever again. So my piece of advice to you would be write some stuff down. Do a little journal entry, communicate with yourself, whatever ways that you like to communicate with yourself. I feel like I was super hasty. I saw the tweet that same night. I'm like, let's do it. Don't do that. Don't be like me. Take a little time, feel it out, get specific on what it is you're trying to learn, what it is you're trying to do. Even if you don't have an exact idea, get a feeling of what sort of information you're hoping will come through. And that, I think, will be a good start to guide your experience a little. Now, I'm not going to say that you are going to be able to curate your experience and that anything can't happen, because anything can happen. Clearly, again, we're dealing with matters of spirituality. However, you still have a say. You are still able to put up some boundaries and have some parameters as to what it is you experience in the spirit world, even if it doesn't look exactly like you think it will look. So there is an inherent risk to this, but it's not a risk that you have absolutely no involvement in. If I'm being really for real, I don't know that I could give anyone the advice to do an exercise like this, because not everyone is coming with the same level of spiritual preparedness and connectivity. I don't necessarily think that we could be, possessed or anything like that, but I do think that your spiritual hygiene plays a massive role into what gets filtered into your human experience. So I'm not saying that this is something you should do. All I'm saying is, if you're going to do it anyway, take my advice. Now, it's been a few years since this happened. Obviously, I don't think there's any massive danger to do with rockets right now in this year, 2025. But honestly, let me not get into my theories. I'll say this. I truly do believe that those that hold most of the power in the world and in the society that we're living in, especially in the context of North America, do I believe they have machines and plans and things outside of Earth? Hell yeah. Do I think we, the average person, is going to be considered in terms of our safety in these plans? Absolutely the fuck not. So this doesn't feel terribly far-fetched, but all that to say, I don't have all the answers, and hopefully this is not something that actually comes to fruition. So that was my story time. I hope we all enjoyed. I feel like every time I give y'all a story time, I low-key traumatize you a little. There's always some woo-woo wild going on, but hey, we are on the ReiQueer pod, and if there's any space for it, I think this is the space. So thank you so much for listening. Again, if you've had experiences like this where you've had prophetic dreams or messages come through in your dreams, I'm so curious. I'd love to read about it. Leave us a comment. If you like this podcast, leave us a comment, leave us a rating, send us a like. Go on the ReiQueer.com/blog, read up on our accompanying blog pieces, catch yourself up if you haven't been reading already. If I do say so myself, they're great pieces of writing and just great food for thought as we watch our episodes and think about the messages that come through in them. Seminar season starts next Sunday officially. Well, by the time you watch this, it would have already started, but we are going the entire month of April and the first Sunday in May as well. Starting April 6th, we have a new custom workshop per week. Please check out my Instagram for more information about that at the ReiQueer. I have 5 free spots per ticket, and tickets are $20 each otherwise. And as always, if you have any inquiries about services, including Reiki, equity consulting, anything in that realm, you can always send me over an email or a DM or visit thereiqueer.com. Until next time, everyone.